In the Lowcountry, we've had to bring you the stories of pedestrians being hit and killed by drivers.
But a new report shows there's more to the story than just who is and who isn't paying attention on the road.
Live 5's Shelby Roberts has been digging through the data for weeks to investigate the trends and what's being done by state, county, and city officials.
I just run. I just enjoy doing it.
Christine Wainwright has been running for the last 50 years.
Put in a lot of miles on these feet.
She clocks 50 to 60 miles a week exploring different parts of Charleston County.
You definitely become addicted.
It's an activity that Christine loves that could have ended her life back in 2016 at the intersection of Columbus and Meeting Street.
The light was getting ready to change. I looked both ways, but evidently I didn't see a car coming from my left that hit me.
She spent the next 2 weeks in hospitals recovering from pelvic fractures, sacrum fractures, a head injury, bruises and cuts to her knees and elbows.
Shook me up. Yeah, it was a life-changing experience.
Pedestrians are being hit and killed by drivers more than they ever have been since 1981. Nationwide last year, more than 7,500 deaths. Here in South Carolina, those numbers don't fare well either, with the state ranked 13th in the country for pedestrian deaths last year. It's a growing issue that families across the Lowcountry are all too familiar with.
You couldn't see the pedestrians standing here.
Lynette Rands regularly comes to this busy intersection of Septima and Cumming Street in downtown Charleston to maintain a makeshift memorial for her daughter, Lindsay.
She had a heart of gold. She would do anything for almost anyone.
January 13, 2014, a then 21-year-old Lindsay was hit and killed while jogging across the street, the area better known as the Crosstown. Lynette now advocates for infrastructure upgrades there, like lowering the speed limit, adding flashing signs, and following through with traffic safety studies, all through her nonprofit, the Lindsay Taylor Rands Foundation.
If the changes aren't made, the deaths are going to continue.
It's a sight that's all too common here in parts of Charleston County. Pedestrians walking on the edges of these very busy roads like on Dorchester. No sidewalk, no crosswalk, and no real barriers between pedestrians and traffic. And then on top of it all, a bus stop with no real designated points of entry or exit. And that leaves pedestrians trying not to be hit by drivers and drivers trying not to hit pedestrians.
The lack of infrastructure, a problem that Katie Zimmerman with nonprofit Charleston Move says is a result of a deeper systemic issue.
It's sort of a waterfall effect of you look at places, locations where you see more users who are going to be lower income or minority communities or older communities. They're lacking the infrastructure needed to get around.
These purple dots show where pedestrians have been killed in the Lowcountry over the last 5 years, according to the South Carolina Department of Public Safety. And when you take those crash sites and overlay income information from justicemap.org, which uses census data, you see a trend. The majority of those crashes have happened in communities where residents statistically don't make more than $40,000 a year.
There is just not enough safe, connected, accessible space for vulnerable road users.
South Carolina District 15 Representative J.A. Moore says collaboration in Charleston is happening at the city, county, and state level to fix infrastructure concerns, especially in vulnerable communities.
Well, again, I think a perfect example of how do you mitigate that is this LCRT.
Or Lowcountry Rapid Transit. Costing about $635 million in federal and Charleston County investments, the 21.3-mile-long bus route is expected to launch in 2029. The LCRT will serve people traveling by bus, foot, and bike in Charleston, North Charleston, and Ladson. The 12-year-long process is currently in the engineering phase with an estimated construction timeline between 2026 and 2028. In a statement, the South Carolina Department of Transportation explains it uses a data-driven approach based on crash data to select corridors for road safety assessments that the agency says directly address issues related to vulnerable road users. There's currently a road safety audit happening along Dorchester Road in North Charleston to evaluate the corridor, recommend improvements, and implement solutions. SCDOT's Project 700 is also underway. The goal is to upgrade and/or install 700 crosswalks by the end of 2025 at intersections across Beaufort, Berkeley, Charleston, Colleton, Dorchester, and Jasper counties. That includes new signalized crosswalks with push buttons, upgrading pedestrian ramps and signals. The agency says it's met about 77% of its goal.
Good public safety, good pedestrian access is good for the community.